Record.
Someone do
Polly,
it.
you do it.
Oh, but I'm bad at them. All right.
Yeah. How are you bad at counting down from numbers?
Oh my God. You'd be surprised, man. We're so anxious.
Just
do it for so
five. All right.
All right,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's the Insane Game Freak here. Trail, what's up? We're talking about Pokemon again today. Fuck you, Richie. You had one job. You had one job. And guess what? We're keeping it in. I want people to know. You fucked this up.
Oh, I thought you were gonna fire me.
No, well, how? I don't pay you.
Not yet.
What am I firing you from? Not paying you? Ridiculous. Anywho, so
He has to do something.
Jesus Christ. So if you haven't seen the PokePod, KG's podcast, then you would have already heard some general impressions of Detective Pikachu from most of the people here, except for some. I caught some rare Pokemon today. I'm feeling lucky. So this video is the spoiler conversation, which means don't watch this if you haven't seen the movie.
No holds barred. You have to...
Or if you just don't care, then stay right ahead.
Yeah, you just don't
exactly.
give a shit.
I mean, it's a Pokemon film. It's not like it's not anything mind blowing.
Yeah, but you should watch it.
I mean, you should watch it.
Watch it.
The point
Yeah.
is you should watch it. But
Yeah.
if you don't care, hey, welcome. Here's a cup of coffee and some weed. Choose whatever you want. Anywho,
Weed every day.
let's introduce the panel, people. We're gonna start in my direction. Hi, Polly. Hey.
Oh, I didn't even know that was your icon. Hello. Hi, everybody.
And no one on the video knows what the fuck you're talking about because I don't have the Discord thing shown up, so it's fine. People don't know I have different icons on Discord than on other social media platforms. Anywho, we caught her. I don't know how I got it. Was it a nest ball I needed? I don't fucking know. Whichever one's good for water Pokemon, I caught one. I caught Poliwhirl today, so I'm pretty happy about this. 10 out of 10.
I might escape. I'm just kidding.
Oh God! When you turn into Abra, you have that kind of you have that kind of run rate. No, Tyrone, you were next on the list. Damn it! It's fine.
And he's gone.
Richie, hey.
Hey, hello to the audience. Hello.
TSS, how are you doing, sir? What the?
Fantastic.
Hi, KG.
Am I supposed to outdo that snap can thing? Oh well, hey everybody.
I mean, you could wipe out half the population.
So
Yeah, I'll just eat some chips in the middle of this whole thing then.
don't guys. So, as you can tell, we're a little already unhinged, which is fine.
We drank.
This is a spoiler review. Tyrone's here also, but apparently Tyrone burb, so we're waiting for. So you won't hear him for a little while. It's fine. We're not doing a fucking recap of the film anyway. There's no point in it because the film is still too new anyway. So I figured
Exactly.
it's fine.
Because we would have to watch it when it comes out on home release to really like indulge in it. Because when you go to a theater, you kind of focus on like maybe the main points, and maybe you don't have enough time to like press pause and like think about what's going on, as you know the home release would give you that freedom. So this is just off the cuff, and maybe a full review will come out when this movie will be coming out in like maybe 3 months or so, 4 months.
Yeah, we might revisit it towards like the latter end of the year after. Because at that point we should be doing.
Call it Detective Pikachu, the second case.
Oh, hey Tyrone, how are you doing, sir? Hey.
Hey.
Yay. So there's no point. We're not gonna do the recap of the plot. There's no point. So,
But I was so ready for that.
Tyrone, what? It literally just came out. Do we need to do it? Can we not save it?
Damn it!
You want to do it, don't you?
I had it in my head this morning, but
do you want to go ahead and do it? I know. I feel like you want to do it now.
I'll go as fast as I can.
All right, supersonic speed. Let's go.
So don't worry.
All right, so Pokemon Detective Pikachu. The movie basically begins with socially awkward teenager Tim. He is the only person in this world full of Pokemon who doesn't have a partner Pokemon, and he doesn't really want anything to do with it. He works basically selling insurance. One of his friends actually has to try to get him to catch a Pokemon. He gets a little confidence about it at first, but ends up backfiring. He winds up going to Rhyme City because he heard some news about his father. Turns out his father, Harry, ended up dying because of an incident that took place. He wants to try to investigate everything that went down, but when he's investigating, he ends up running into a bunch of strange characters, Pokemon included, in Rhyme City, where Rhyme City takes a huge coverage of the fact that people and Pokemon live together in harmony, no Pokemon battles, not contained in Pokemon, sort of like a Team Plasma utopia, if you will. And when this all takes place, Tim ends up discovering Detective Pikachu because Detective Pikachu was doing some research trying to figure out where Harry is. Apparently, he got amnesia based on the incident that took place, and all he knows is that he's a Pikachu and he loves coffee, and everyone can't understand him except for Tim. The two try to investigate in the city to figure out exactly where the whereabouts of Harry are because Harry can't be dead if Pikachu's still alive. Okay, weird logic. Anyway, as their snooping basically leads them into finding some things like the R-gas, which causes Pokemon to go crazy and attack people. And when that ends up happening, they also do further investigation and meet up with a girl named Lucy with her partner, Psyduck. Obviously, Psyduck has the running joke where if it gets stressed, it freaking blows everything up. They do some more investigating and find like a Pokemon pavilion out in the woods, and it basically shows here that they were doing some testing on the legendary Pokemon Mewtwo. It turns out that Mewtwo was having some research done on him, and the son of the founder of Rhyme City, Howard's son, was the one behind the project to use the R-gas in order to make Mewtwo berserk and go across the city. Turns out this was all just a plot that was covering up a much bigger plot. Turns out Harry never died. He ended up in an accident, and Mewtwo was the one that saved him.
I heard that. What the fuck?
Not done.
No. Oh my God.
Did I hear that?
Yes.
If we're all reacting this way, Richie, we all heard it.
Here, boy.
I went
I heard a
deaf for a minute.
squeak.
All right,
what?
Tyrone,
Nah,
continue,
that's
please.
equal.
Continue.
All right,
please.
so
my
continuing from where we last left off, turns out that Mewtwo was trying to defend Harry from getting attacked by a group of Greninjas that was sent out by Howard's son. But what actually ends up happening is that Harry and Pikachu wound up in the car accident, but their bodies and spirits were fused together thanks to Mewtwo, so that Pikachu could go out and find Tim, so that Tim can basically trace everything back to this situation and sort of fix everything. Unfortunately, Tim was too late. Tim ended up figuring out that it wasn't Howard's son, but Howard himself who was trying to take over Mewtwo, kidnapping Mewtwo and then transferring his body, which was basically disabled because he wasn't able to use his legs, and transfer his soul into Mewtwo to make himself basically the most powerful Pokemon in the world, release the R-gas in Rhyme City, and fuse people's souls with their own Pokemon so that they could truly become one in a weird, harmonious utopia type situation. In this entire squabble, Tim takes down Ditto, which was one of the right-hand men for Howard, and Pikachu ends up distracting Mewtwo long enough for them to take the helmet off of Howard's body and translate Mewtwo's body back to Howard's, fix everything, then the case is closed. Turns out that Pikachu was really Harry, which was Tim's father the whole time. And once that ends up finally getting revealed, the two walk off, and it also turns out that Tim wanted to be a Pokemon trainer a long time ago as a kid. Unfortunately, his mother died and things sort of drifted apart with him and his family. But now that he's older and he's gained some more development with his father, the two are going to try to live life anew. The end.
Breathe, Tyrone, breathe.
We did get information regarding Sakurai and the Smash Initiative, so don't forget about that too.
All right.
No, there was no post-credit scene, goddammit.
We're not doing that, all right?
Aww.
All right, listen. So, I don't want to go through the whole... I want to make this more of a general discussion, make this free-flowing. We're going to let Tyrone breathe for a while so he doesn't have to talk.
That fucks me over.
Need to get the asthma pump.
He's working on his breathing exercises, his deep breathing. That diaphragm work it's just gonna be huge by the end of this. Anywho, so I kind of wanted to just start this off and start off kind of what was the biggest shock of the film for you? And this is plot, character, story, world, doesn't matter which.
I would say the fact that Howard was behind the whole thing, even though they were they were sugarcoating that it was his son that was doing the problem, because you see in the early scenes that Howard's son was basically, being the kind of the smart ass and things like that, and you think that he was the one and he was the problem, but then later on when you find out that it was Howard himself doing that, it's like, a double switch, like, it was a double plot switch.
It's essentially
And
it's misdirection.
Yes,
to
for
lead
like
you-
the whole movie to
Yeah.
lead you in it. I actually really enjoyed that, because it really because up to that point I didn't it was gonna be a good movie, but then once it came out, I think that changed the whole flow of it, and I really enjoyed the last like 20 minutes.
You know what? I would say my moment is related to that, but not specifically that. My shock was the fucking Ditto's importance towards the end of the film. I don't know what it was, but I completely forgot about his Ditto until you get to the very end of the film. Like, oh, so who's this girl? Or like, who's the? Because like in the earlier scenes, you see the sequence in which the son is like pressing buttons for the traps in the lab.
Yeah.
When Tim and Lucy are there, and I'm like, well, if the father's behind it, the son at least has to be an accomplice because he's doing stuff. And then he walks through the door, and I'm like, wait a minute, but his son is locked up over there. And then my mind clicked, and I went, oh shit, it's Ditto!
Ditto.
I would say that I went with my friend. Me and my friend literally had that, oh my god moment, because it took me a minute. Honestly, that just blew me away, because I was like, that's so good. Because they don't, because I like how this movie's super subtle about shit. So it's not like,
Yes.
by the
Yeah.
way, did you see that Ditto can transform into people? It's shown in a scene, and it's not the main focal
Who
point of
would've
the
guessed?
scene. So it's like you can forget about it, but then be like, oh crap, when it comes back up, because you have seen it before. So that was the thing that blew me away.
I had such an anime moment with that, because my girlfriend went with me to the movie, and she knows almost nothing about Pokemon. But
How?
when she saw almost, she knows
What a
Gen
failure.
1 stuff. She knows Gen 1 stuff. But when she saw that there were two of Howard's sons, and she was just like, wait, huh? And then I just went, Ditto. Just like, Ditto. That bastard.
But here's
And
the
I
question:
love-
Here's the question: were you saying Ditto as in Me Too, or were you
No,
saying
I was like Ditto as in, like, I knew it was fucking Ditto. And I love that the sunglasses were on, and he'll be like, click the Ditto's hiding the face, because Ditto does the face when it okay, Ditto, gotcha. All right.
You never saw without his glasses off.
Yes. Yeah, that's what the big picker-upper was for me.
Anybody else? We have other people here.
I have two things.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the
Go
video
ahead.
is also kind
Go
of a
for
shock, but mine is kind of similar to TSS, but it was more that, like, I had a feeling that Howard was behind it, but I didn't know that the son was going to turn out to be good, and that he was, like, the whole fusion, like that he knew that he was behind it or whatever. Like, I didn't know that he was going to, like, turn out to be innocent. And then the other one is the Torterra.
Oh
Like-
yeah,
Oh yeah.
The Torterra kind of fucked me
that
a
is
little bit.
that was a good scene.
Because I
Yeah.
think like they were gonna do something later on, with, like maybe related to Mewtwo or the Greninja or whatnot. But no, they took that to a whole nother level, quite literally. So that was a big shock. I wasn't expecting that.
And it's another example of, like, in the beginning of when they first walk into the lab, they're like, oh, this is the Torterra garden, and Lucy's like, well, these guys look pretty normal sized to me, so I don't see the big deal. And it trips me out that set piece we had been seeing in the trailers was a setup for that, and I'm like, oh snap, this is
Yeah,
the
It
Torterra
makes
garden.
sense.
This movie does not show any Gen 4 Pokemon for real, but that one Torterra is like, wow, they really gave him a debut, didn't they?
Torterra carried the Gen 4 saga with him.
Was
Right,
it-
literally
was it-
on his back.
Boo, you guys are terrible.
Go ahead.
0 out of 10.
Paul, I thought Paulie was going to say
Oh,
something else. Sorry.
Well, I know you guys touched on this in the Pokepod watch, but the adult joke caught me off guard. I was
Yeah.
also, I wasn't expecting, like, I knew there was gonna be some, like, kind of mature humor, but I wasn't expecting that subject.
when Tim dropped the match in the gasoline office of
Bruh,
Mr. Mime.
that I was gonna
No.
mention that. I love how they kept using the Mr. Mime thing, and I'm like, okay, we've seen literally the best of the scene. And then it's like, no, you didn't even show the best part of the scene where he tries to kill the Mr. Mime.
Like you see him, he just
That shit was
grabbing
hilarious.
a gallon of gasoline and actually legit pouring it on the man himself, and I'm like, God damn.
Look at Mr. Look at
No,
Mr.
no,
Mime's
no.
face
It was,
throughout
it
the
was,
whole
no.
thing.
It was pouring the gasoline next to him.
Like,
No, he
the-
put it on his face because he was wiping out his face.
Yeah, he did pour it on top of him.
This movie's borderline rating, I think, mostly comes from Mr. Mime's scene alone. I think that is kind of where it like teeters on the line of whether it should be PG-13 or rated mature.
They even do the Looney Tunes gag of him lighting the match and him constantly trying to blow it out.
Yeah.
And then he's like, all right, fine, you want to blow it out? And he walks all the way back and makes the trail. And he's like, oh.
Yeah.
And it's like, Jesus Christ, this is really dark, but I appreciate it so much.
I love it. Yes.
Really good.
So I think,
Oh, I did have something I
Yeah.
wanted to add to that because I wasn't just sure how we
Me
were
as
passing
well.
it along. So I was just waiting for everybody to finish theirs. But my personal thing I enjoyed was just finding out that Mewtwo was legit a good guy for once. Like that was actually really interesting to see because most of the films he's always just treated as some kind of like baddie and whatnot.
yeah.
And to be able to see that Mewtwo was legit, a really good guy who just wanted to get out of his situation that he was stuck in, and finding out that he somehow has that weird ass ability to fuse trainers and Pokemon thanks to his gas. I don't know that whole thing if there's some kind of connection to the show or whatnot, but apparently gas had something to do with it. But yeah, just finding out Mewtwo was a good guy. I really liked it all. And yeah, when I watched it in the theaters, everybody was also surprised just seeing that Mewtwo was a good guy. When you find him in the middle of the mountains, he heals up, Pikachu and all that, and then he tries to explain his origin
The
story,
ultimate healer.
which then gets cut off because he then learn about the whole thing going on within Rhyme City and whatnot. So
I would.
yeah, I like that particular bit.
That's the one thing I really want to give this movie credit for. They was incredibly respectful to the IP it was representing.
Yes.
Yes.
I honestly think every Pokemon is properly. I think the only thing that's a little out there is literally Mewtwo's weird ability to switch people's souls and
Souls.
shit. That's literally the only thing I had an issue with in terms of Pokemon representation. Every other Pokemon acts a way I would have expected it to. And it's crazy because they didn't use that many, all things considered. They only used, 60, I think they said?
Yeah.
In interviews?
Yeah.
And they got
And even then, I don't
so-
even think some of them were even in the front and center. They were like
Yeah,
hidden.
there's a lot of you got to point out some Pokemon in order to truly find them, and I love that though. I loved looking for the Pokemon in the movie.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
like
like-
Joltix to Charmanders to Apom.
You know what? I'm surprised by
everywhere.
the Gen 5 representation.
I
Yeah,
like all the
Gen
stuff
5 got
that was
represented a lot.
Best Gen.
in Rhyme City, like Hoodoo or not? Sorry, Noctowl wasn't necessarily. Was it in the movie?
No, but it was
Noctowl-
the
It was on a poster. Yeah, it was on a
Yeah.
poster.
also
I like how
Goomy
some
too.
stuff wasn't, even though the actual Pokemon themselves weren't included, they were represented somehow, like on a poster or
Yeah.
the poster is in his room.
I know we mentioned this. A few days ago, but the fact that you see Eevee evolve into Flareon, that's the worst one. It's like,
Hey man, I liked their
Yeah.
fuck you guys, alright?
Hey,
You're
I
like
say
the
it,
one
what you
out of-
mean?
Isn't he like the
One
only
out of-
Pokemon that evolves in that film?
yes.
Yes.
No.
I mean,
No, Magikarp and a Gyarados.
Oh, that's
Oh
true.
yeah.
That's
That's
true.
That's true.
Magikarp.
Woo!
Oh yeah, but that reaction from Charizard in that scene was still the highlight of the film for
That
me.
shit got me
I
going.
do like the fact that they
I think
scaled them to size
the
properly.
underground battle scene that was great.
It was.
Gengar
Yeah,
I
is
love who
fucking
they got
awesome.
pretty active.
I
for that one.
it's like it's like watching a combination of like Fight Club.
I was also in that scene, by the way.
What was it? Fight Club and
you weren't, Ricky.
Yeah, it was. You don't understand the joke.
like
then
Fight Club
explain
and
it to me.
Rollerball.
I did explain it to you.
Did you?
Yeah, he
Okay,
did.
so
It's been
in
a
the
weird
underground battles, in the underground battles, that you know how Richie always plays that sound clip from Pokemon Stadium where it's like it's a one-hit
Oh
wonder.
yeah. Okay, I got you.
They actually say that in the underground battle.
And everybody,
the minute
everybody
they say
here,
it,
and at least most of us here, when we watch that movie, we instantly thought, "Oh shit, Richie's in the
God
movie."
damn it, Richie's in the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't say, "Oh shit, Richie's in the movie." I just said, "God damn it, Richie."
That's what I said. So I was like, God damn it, Richie.
It's that. Jesus Christ! I didn't even think about that until. All right, go ahead, Volley.
Oh, I'm not. No, I'm not familiar with that. But
Oh no, I
appreciate-
just became familiar with it. They all have in jokes. They don't tell us everything.
But you
bastards.
Honestly, Terrell, you were
the first
in-
thing. It was a
Yeah, I'm
recurring-
saying you were in the part when he did it.
No, it's in Stadium. That you if you do that you are you. Heard
No,
it.
I mean Terrell's been playing the sound bit ever since Pokemon Crystal.
Richie.
You mean Richie?
Richie.
Richie's
I'm
been
sorry.
playing.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Richie's been
I
playing
feel
the
like
sound
we're
bit since
drunk
Pokemon
without
Crystal.
not actually being drunk. I don't know what's going on. No,
Well,
but
they gotta put something in this Costco freaking sparkling water.
no, they don't. The fuck? That's illegal. That's not the
lemon
point.
flavor, yeah, lemon, yeah.
The point I was making is that it's one of those memes that like this movie does a lot of appealing to Gen 1. As much as I'm not a super fan of it, and a lot of correlation with the anime specifically. Like
Okay.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, because think
I
about
can
it,
see
even
that.
like for example, the Ditto thing. The Ditto thing is only relevant because of the anime thing.
Yes.
Like the eye thing is only a thing in the anime. Another
Yeah.
example is Jigglypuff having the microphone that's also doubles
And the
as a marker.
Psyduck with the headache.
Yeah, Psyduck with the headache.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a
I
bunch
mean,
of
I do
Did they
agree.
reuse
I do
lines, or
agree.
did they brand new lines for that Jigglypuff?
No, they
the
did-
Jigglypuff
they
didn't even
reused
talk in the movie, did it?
Yeah,
They
it's
did the
saying-
song, but it's like, they did it in a different way.
It almost
They
looks like it
didn't
was
do
cut
it like
down.
Yeah.
It was cut down, but it used the original. It used the original recording.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I do appreciate is that, like Terrell said, there is a lot of catering to the anime in Gen 1 wise, but they don't it's not shoved down your throat.
Also, it
guess
helps
I mean,
that
it
you're
shouldn't.
in Kanto in this film. You're in Rhyme City.
Even though
Yeah.
they reference
You
Kanto.
don't
I like
feel that
Yeah,
Kanto.
they
I
do,
do-
reference Kanto.
I appreciate they acknowledge that Mewtwo's from Kanto and that they aren't the team that actually made Mewtwo. They're just the team that I guess caught in a way Mewtwo.
Yeah, the team that caught and did research on them.
That was before. I kind of thought during that first scene, I thought it was like a flashback to Kanto until they said that. I'm like, oh, okay. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, it's just a reference. I'm trying to rack my brain throughout the rest of the film because the beginning, I will say the beginning part's probably the weirdest part. The fact that they start the movie with an interaction with Cubone of all Pokemon.
Right.
Because it's like, are you really going to mention the dead mother thing at the beginning of the film? Yeah, that's what we're going to do, guys. We're going to do the dead mother thing.
Well, I guess, and it was obviously the idea of Cubone's really odd, so they probably threw it out there as just like hey, he'll make an awkward joke to a Pokemon that doesn't give a shit.
You know, I want to add to that real quick. I love how the film doesn't really start off until 30 minutes or 15 to 30 minutes in. I love how it sort of slowly built the world that you are entering into. You know,
Yeah.
introducing Pokemon, introducing this character who doesn't live in Rhyme
Pokemon.
City, just outside of the city, having to go and venture it. So he has to see it for the first time like we do. You know,
And I thought their introduction to Pokemon in the very beginning was decent. I mean, some people have
Yeah.
said that it's not enough, but I disagree. I think it was a good enough explanation, and by the time
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good
unraveled-
enough.
Also, is
I
that
don't
the first
problem
time we
with it.
ever see a trainer? Is that the only time we see a
I mean,
trainer?
and at this point, I think they kind of knew, hey, if you don't know Pokemon at this point, then I'm sorry to tell you. It didn't take a long time trying to break things down. I think the train ride that Tim takes is a good, comfortable transition for those who aren't quite sure. Because Pokemon being presented here, everybody has a Pokemon. So Pokemon are more like your pet or your partner. And at that point, that's something everybody can understand. That transcends outside of the fandom. It's just, all you know is that you exist and you have a Pokemon.
also, can we just talk about one thing real quick? That
Yeah,
I
go
hate,
ahead.
and I talked about this a bit in the podcast, but I just want to bring this up again. I am so goddamn happy this isn't one of those movies where it's like, oh, suddenly the Pokemon just show up out of nowhere and now they're invading our world and now we have to find a way to either work together
No,
with
they've
them
been
or...
here. They've
Sonic
been
the
here.
They've been
Hedgehog!
here since the beginning.
Yeah,
They built this world to let you know this is how things have been since the start. It's natural for these characters. It doesn't feel weird for them, you know. So it's nice seeing that in a film like
I
this.
do think it's funny. I do think it's funny that they show like Pokemon's been with us since the beginning of time, and they show like hieroglyphics of Bulbasaur next to like the Pharaoh and shit.
Hey man, they made Bulbasaur cute as shit in this film. I don't ask you questions.
Yeah, no,
Bulbasaur reminded me of Toothless for some reason.
Nah, I don't know.
Because
I
he has
thought
no
it was funny.
teeth.
I just thought it was funny that they showed a drawing. They showed a drawing of Bulbasaur next to the hieroglyphics. I'm just like, really?
How did
It was just funny
I know.
to see that.
I guess we should just
But-
talk. We could talk about the Pokemon in general, just the way
Yeah,
they're
the
presented.
Pokemon.
Because
Oh.
some of them, I think it's weird. I think some of them are more. How do I put it? I guess I wasn't expecting certain textures on certain types. Like
Yeah.
I remember when
I
go ahead.
no, sorry. You remember when you first?
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I love the Greninja. I don't know. I thought the Greninja
good
was really
job.
authentic, but that's because
first-
it's my second favorite Pokemon. Also, not enough Poliwhirl. That's all.
At first, Greninja scared the shit out of me, but now I think I'm getting used to it.
Also,
I
can we
think-
talk
I
about
think
that
it'll-
Golurk?
Oh, the girl. Oh, the
I
Golurk
love
was
the
perfect.
Golurk.
It
Oh,
looks
the
so
Golurk
good.
is
It looks
awesome.
so good. Dude.
Yeah, it looks good.
The Machamp looks good. Snorlax looks good.
What happened to his crying face that I see all the time on Twitter?
Wait,
Or
who's
is that an edit?
Wait, who's crying his face?
The Snorlax edit. It was an edit, wasn't it?
I don't know if I got
What is
Where
someone-
he has like that sad crying face. I thought that was his face in the film for some reason.
No.
No. It's
No,
probably
I
someone-
just saw it. It was asleep when I saw it.
Yeah, you only
I
see.
actually liked the way Mr. Mime was. Like everyone, like I remember when it's like the trailer first came out. It's like everyone was really scared, but I think it actually looked cute. I feel like they could have made him look scarier, but they didn't. And
It's just
It reminds me
Mr.
of Danny
Mime's,
DeVito.
Mr.
doing
Mime's
this.
shoulders. Mr. Mime's shoulders look like kickballs to me.
I mean, to be fair, some of these Pokemon just don't. They don't have the easiest transition into realistic, I guess, CGI and everything. One Pokemon I really want to
Pancham?
give a lot of credit to is Pancham and Pangoro.
Yes.
Yes.
I will say the only thing I'm not. I think Pancham's head might be a little bit too big considering its body size. So it looks kind of like it's like a Stewie or Griffin effect. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
Where his head.
My
it seems like
my girlfriend had an all moment at the Pancham though. She loved it.
Like, you know why? Because the first thing you see it in, it crawls out of the bushes and shit.
Bamboo, yeah.
And it's like, what is this adorable creature and how can I get it? And they're like, that's literally what
Yeah.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also
Also, that artillery.
Oh yeah, God, I forgot.
Yeah, Octo is in the
Oh.
movie. Holy shit, he's in the Chinese restaurant stand.
Which reminds me of what happened in Sun and Moon recently, actually. So that was interesting to see that.
Yeah.
God, see, some of them you don't. Some of them have like
Now,
really small
the
cameos.
The biggest one surprise was meant to me was Morlul, and the reason was because Morlul is Gen 7, and I thought this movie was being made around like the Gen 6 era, so I didn't think they would even consider putting a Gen 7 Pokemon in. Hell, the fact that they have Gen 6 Pokemon to me was actually impressive. So seeing a Gen 7 Pokemon, and granted it's a small Gen 7 Pokemon, but it's a Gen 7 nonetheless, which means they care. This is a lot of care was put into this movie.
Also, props to the audio I saw wandering around in the streets with the.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
It's one of those things. That means you're better than Chansey on it. No, that's all that is. Sorry.
Jesus.
I don't know why I grew a weird affinity over that thing over the course of these last
I
3 or
didn't
4
know.
years. Not sure why. I think Best Wishes is probably the reason.
the Buffalo
Probably.
one too was cool.
Yeah, what the fuck? Buffon showed
Yeah.
up quite a bit.
They used Boof a lot more than Tar. They didn't even use Tauros, and I thought that was pretty impressive, though.
You know,
Oh my god, Dan, the Kanto pandering is not really all there because
Yeah,
like,
I
that's
really-
like the first
Good.
shot of
Yeah,
the film.
Good.
I saw a lot of Braviaries too. I was just like, huh?
Yeah.
And Rufflets.
Oh yeah, Rufflet and
really-
Braviary.
And
Like
Buffalant
that.
as well.
Gen 5 love, baby.
Yeah, but I was like, respect the gin.
I pretty much like every gen. And Johto and Johto Pokemon will be like I have a soft spot for it. But a lot of my other friends, it's like we all kind of like different generations, and it's kind of a little bit tiring to see so much Gen 1 pandering. I'm not gonna lie. So like Tyrone said, like you could tell they put a lot of care into catering kind of to everybody because I feel like everyone has a generation that they're um
That
that
they grew up with, basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, side note, shout out to the Sneasel. That's
Oh, this is
that was a surprise,
Yeah.
honestly. Sneasel, I don't even
I
think is
wanna-
that popular in general, let alone in Gen 2.
I think Terrell can back me up on this. They had their obvious ones, Charizard and Mewtwo, but I'm glad they didn't conform to the popular Pokemon for
Yeah.
this movie.
They tried,
they
they
could've
tried to
easily-
be balanced.
Yeah, they could have easily had Infernape in that group, but no, they chose Torterra to represent Gen 4.
That's just,
Which-
you know what I wanted, though? I wanted my top
What?
Flosion.
I wanted my Raichu.
I wanted my top Flosion to send
Where's
across
my
anybody.
Zoruba? Maybe he's
I
one
saw
of
my
the illusions.
Charizard. I'm good.
I wanted Raichu as well. I wanted Pikachu himself to have like a little argument
I was
with
like-
it.
I'd rather have Pichu than Raichu,
Oh.
personally.
I forgot. I'm looking at the list right now. I forgot Totodile was in it.
Wait,
There was a 3D model for
Where's
alligator in one of
Totodile in the
posters.
film? No, I'm trying to think about it.
Totodile was like
He's at the beginning when during the
Yeah.
video when they explain
Oh,
that
he
Mr. Howard.
is.
Yeah,
He
when they explain that
is.
Mr. Howard is like befriended Pokemon.
Yeah.
See, I almost want to rewatch the film purely just to point out all the Pokemon in the damn thing.
Oh,
I
I,
think
I was
TSS
doing that
mentioned
while
this
I was
early in the
watching
part,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Joltik. I love Joltik.
Oh,
Yeah,
Joltik.
Joltik, you got to do some eye straining to see, but
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
find
I noticed them pretty frequently.
it's small
Because they
I mean,
put them
yeah,
on
but
the
they're-
front. Yeah, the
Yeah,
screen
but
when
they're
you see
small.
them.
Like I remember one is like crawling on the little gate during the underground battles.
Yeah, they're on all electrical wires, which is the other reason why I say I appreciate the attention to detail, because it's even the small things like the areas they're hanging out or the areas.
Yeah.
things
The
that they're like-
Loudred, come on, Loudred.
Oh, dude, I was so happy, but I wanted to see an X-Bot at least
Dubstep.
once.
The use of the Loudreds was really well done. I
That's
love the fact that they're
it's
like the
cool-
speakers.
It's the cool integration of the society with the Pokemon, and I'm like, yes,
Yes. Like they're not just here to show off the fact that they're here. They actually use them in effective ways.
You know, the ironic thing is the one Pokemon I would have loved to see is the Incineroar with the kids playing on top of it. That's what I would have wished I could have seen.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was like a luchador kind of ring, you know.
Well,
all
because
that.
they made such a
Yeah.
big deal about it in his bio and everything, I thought like this would be like the perfect time to show him off. But
Yeah.
maybe in the special uncut edition, there are more Pokemon to be shown,
Yeah, probably.
or at least more scenes with them. I think.
And these
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and these Pokemon, like looking closer and closer at them, they made them so natural to the point where they made it so they still have a whimsical view about them, but they're not realistic to the point where they're straight up scary. Because some of these Pokemon, obviously, if they were real, they'd be scary as shit.
That Lickitung though at the start, I'm really
Oh, God.
amazed how
I
they
mean,
did
Yeah.
I would still say Greninja kind of freaked me out when it was first shown.
Mhm.
When
That's
it's-
Oh,
Yeah,
Because
that
they're in
guy
the.
fucked me up.
Ironically enough, I saw parents leave because they said because the kids were freaking out about it being too scary.
Really now.
Really?
The one I heard was that they ended up playing the La Llorona in one of the theaters. instead
Oh
of-
my god, I heard that.
They
And
just
I
don't
fucking was
appreciate
like,
the
how?
They're misunderstood. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
People
I
make
feel
mistakes.
bad for those.
People
I will
make
protect all blue
mistakes.
frogs.
You have a
Jesus
bias.
Christ.
You in this toad obsession. Which is weird. For the
Whoa.
longest time, I didn't even realize Poliwhirl was a toad because he doesn't.
It's like a halfway between a tadpole and a frog. So
Yeah, but
I
I
don't
don't think
even- Yeah.
Poliwrath doesn't even really look like a frog. Only Polytoad really does. This is not the conversation we need to be in
I
right now.
liked that. Okay, I saw Trico and I was like, okay, I just see
That
Trico
freaked
like
me out, dude. The
on
way
a
it
window.
moved.
I didn't think they were gonna actually have like a close. Like I didn't think Trico was gonna have a scene, and the scene he had is very like awkward.
Oh,
But it
like
works.
at the hotel, wasn't it? Where he just like
Yeah.
yawned.
Yeah, like it's comedically awkward though. It's like on the window,
Well,
and
it's
it's like
because I mean, because you know why? Is because you don't really think of the way we played the games, and I guess that's the other interesting thing. These Pokemon are represented as their animal counterparts instead of their game counterparts. Because Trico in the games has never been really felt like a gecko. It wasn't really until you saw him in live action where you went, the fuck is he climbing on the wall for? And I went, oh, he's a gecko. Of course he would be on the window doing that weird stuff. It's weird.
Right.
So it's almost putting some of the old Pokemon in new lights because of what they're actually based on and how they're represented in the film. That realistic interpretation makes each Pokemon feel fresh. Snubbull being a very scary fucking dog.
I love how they incorporated Snubbull into like one of the comedy scenes where it's like Snubbull's not gonna harm you, and then you see the man like move his arm away when he gets closer.
Because he's literally a bulldog, and bulldogs unfortunately get that bad rap, even though they're actually pretty nice animals. But
and wasn't the Clink evolutionary line in this movie? I'm trying to remember.
Was it?
I don't
Clink
remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember it.
I didn't see them.
I don't know. I thought
You know what
about it.
hey, listen. You know what I was happy about though? My Molga. My Molga got some representation.
Emolga, baby.
Emolga made a lot of appearances in that movie. It was just on like a lot of those electric phone wires.
Best Squirrel Girl. That's all I have to say. Best Squirrel Girl.
Yeah, like a lot of the Pokemon that we're talking about, they're not the main focus. They're just there,
they're in the
incorporated into the world, and mixed perfectly with this. I think that's what makes this movie so great. It's how natural these Pokemon, these creatures, these inanimate objects that somehow are living creatures, fit and blend so well to the world they are in. From the coffee shop with the Jigglypuff randomly singing to a guy, to the giant Golurk that's somewhere within the police station, the many Growlithe, Charmander, Dodrios, the Rufflets and Braviaries just flying above Rhyme City, all of that. Nothing felt off about it all.
And see, it's like the anime references, like, because of course the police station has a bunch of Growlithes and an Arcanine. Golurk is kind of a non-traditional one, but still, it makes sense.
It feels like one.
It makes sense. I almost wish they would do that in games now. Have Golurks just around.
Miss Magius was in this goddamn movie.
Where?
It fought at the battle cage. It fought in the battle cage first.
Against
I thought that was
briefly did.
No, I thought it was Gengar and
Gengar.
Gengar and
No,
Blastoise.
it was one round before Gengar. It's the one that got killed. It was like, it's a one-hit wonder.
I mean, but what was it fighting against?
I'm looking right now. I see Miss Magius was in the movie. I'm looking at the whole list right now. Miss Magius was in the movie.
We apologize.
Gary knows.
Yeah,
I think it was fighting Graveler.
For the unavoidable.
No, not the Graveler. The Graveler were like the the avalanche that came down, I believe, right?
Yeah, because it was kind of weird because I didn't recognize them until I saw them rolling. I went, oh, that's what
the hell? Comfey was in this damn movie?
Yes.
Oh yeah. See, okay, so before the Bulbasaur, I actually thought that the Comfey were gonna be the ones to heal
Pikachu?
Pikachu.
Why do I not remember seeing the Comfey?
That's two goddamn Gen 7 Pokemon.
See, I recognize it for a very random reason, obviously because
Flip Baby was in this goddamn movie too.
See, now this is what we do. We're in full geek out mode now. It's like,
I mean, there's a lot of opportunities that we miss because we're so focused on
many. Honestly, if anything, I just see that's a good side.
Yeah,
there's a reason to rewatch the film.
This means there's a reason to rewatch this film a few times because like, oh, maybe the second or third time you're watching it, it's like, oh, I didn't even know about that.
Now, just to deviate from the Pokemon themselves conversation for a second, because there was a critique I've heard, and I'm curious if anyone agrees with it or not. I've heard some other I've heard other people talk about this film, and the one thing they don't like is that they think the story is presented is kind of convoluted. Does anyone here agree or disagree with that idea?
No. If anything, you gotta take the story for as it comes.
Mm-hmm.
You don't look at the big picture. It makes you think about an anticipation of the next scene, what's gonna happen next. Because if you look at it as a big picture, you're already failing at understanding this movie. That's why a lot of the quote unquote professional reviewers have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. You have to take a look at it. You have to take a look at it. You have to take a look at. I'm looking at you, fucking ABC7. Fuck you.
Whoa.
Jesus Christ!
Anyway, so, and then they had to have a 12-year-old kid come in and say he was great. So the 12-year-old kid should get the guy's job because he knows what the fuck he's talking about.
Oh my God!
But anyway,
Well,
you should look
Golly.
at it. You should look at it as from a perspective of looking at it from scene to scene as you're watching it, not as a full thing, trying to convolute that, because the people that don't understand that is they're trying to base what they're trying to piece together the plot from what information that they've just seen instead of
Togepi
just
was in this
flowing.
movie.
Yes, it was. But I'm just
Yes.
saying,
Earl, get off the
but I'm just saying
goddamn
that's-
list.
but that's
Sorry.
but that's what I'm saying. If you're trying to piece together what happened in the movie as you're watching it, you're not gonna get it. You
wanna
have
see
to
the
just.
big
do you mean convoluted in the sense of, because I saw another criticism where people like who aren't familiar with the Pokemon universe are like confused because they don't. It's like a matter of, oh, they don't have a history of knowing, but like everyone knows what Pokemon are,
Well,
and I feel
also,
like it's
go ahead.
not hard to get the story.
Yeah.
I don't
Pokemon's
think
like
I don't
Mario.
Pokemon. The thing I don't understand about that criticism is that like Pokemon aren't necessary. You don't need to know what Pokemon are to get the story. Literally, the story is somebody's making drugs to make the creatures, animals, quote unquote, go
apeshit.
crazy. We need to figure out who's making the drugs and stop them. Oh, it's this guy making the drugs. No, it's his son making the drugs. Oh wait, surprise! It was him making the drugs because he wants to use one of these animals to pretty much obtain a better body because his old body's dying. There's not like you don't need to know Pokemon to get the plot. That's why I don't understand that criticism anyway.
And we've had
Like-
other films in the past, not Pokemon related, just films in general that do things like this, like the Jungle Book, where they have these animals that can speak and all that. This is no different. The only difference is just the design of the species that are in this world. That's it.
But
No.
to give clarification to what Paulie was asking before, when I say convoluted, the way the reviewer described it was that it was hard to follow. That's the way they described it, in simple terms. They said, "Oh, the movie was hard to follow," and I was like, "In what way?"
I
It's
better
so
say, 'cause-
basic, the plot.
Yeah, I
That's
would
the
say
thing.
this movie is, Tim's dad died, but there's literally is in the name, Detective Pikachu. He's a detective, so obviously he's gonna figure out how Harry's death, and that's it. At that point, you're invested in the story.
I still like somebody's quote on Twitter saying that Detective Pikachu is the Citizen Kane of this generation.
Oh my god.
Rosebud.
Jesus Christ.
Rosebud.
I mean, it's good. Yeah.
I think, I think there could be, like, I could understand there being scenes of maybe there's, like, a lot going on. Like, towards the end, like, when everybody was fused together and running around, all chaotic, Pikachu is, like, almost, like, falling off the thing. Like, I could see where that might be a little confusing. Plus the two different, like, the sons and, like, who, like, just revealed that they were evil. But as a whole, I don't think it's hard to follow.
The only issue I had was probably involving the way they kept playing with the car crash. The car crash. It was
Overused.
it was overused,
Yeah.
and it felt like the rules kept changing with the car crash. Like the first time, the car crashes and the Pikachu survives. The second time, the car crashed because it was attacked what did they say originally? It was attacked by
Greninja.
Mewtwo. No,
Well,
Mewtwo.
okay.
Mewtwo.
So what
It was
happened
attacked by
in the
Mewtwo.
first one?
And then
In the first one, we, the audience, got to see the car crash.
But we didn't know
So
who
we
gave the.
but we didn't know who caused it. We just saw that the car, just sort of crashed. Then the second time, like Terrell just said, it was because Mewtwo did it. Then the third time we see it's because what was the third time?
the third time is
Greninja.
when we see that the dad actually survived. And
the Greninja were the ones
No,
that
no,
did it.
no,
Yeah,
that's
No, it's just the dad survived.
the dad
That's the
survived,
fourth
and the dad took, and Mewtwo.
Yeah, but they didn't show the whole thing.
Yeah, they
just
didn't show the whole
just-
thing, and then the third
They just
time,
showed him falling from the car.
and then the fourth time was when we found out Greninja attacked the car, and then was it the fourth time where we also found out that their souls refused to get? No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Was it?
No, the
it was
last
Mewtwo,
time.
No, Mewtwo appeared And then he
That
got-
was the fifth. That was the fifth.
fifth time.
Yeah, well, see, they reuse it as a plot device like 5 different times.
Yeah,
and it
Mewtwo
feels-
explains at the end of the movie what happened, and then
Yeah,
we
but
get
there was a
another
middle. Yeah,
flashback.
but the one before that, it was in the middle of the explanation, and all of a sudden, it just got attacked.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
there was a lot of they kept reusing
Repetition.
it, and it got more complicated as the thing went forward. And I liked
Right.
it. I liked it in the beginning. I think towards the end they reused it too much.
Especially
Yeah.
because it was just like 15 minutes apart from each other when we've already
Yeah,
seen
like
it
they
once.
were using it so close to each other, it blurred a little bit. And I think
Yeah.
that was probably the only confusing part. But even then, the only thing you really need to take away from that is the small bits that they were giving you in each moment. Like for example, it wasn't Mewtwo who attacked the car, it was the Greninja who attacked the car. Mewtwo was trying to protect everyone. Like that was the gist you need to know in that moment. And then you take
One
that
of the-
gist and you run with it.
One of the things that bugged me, only if I had to give it some form of criticism, was, and this isn't really necessarily the movie. Well, it's the movie's fault, but it's not necessarily Pikachu or the character's fault. It's just when we go back to Amnesia as a plot point, sometimes it's more or less sort of an excuse to either A, reset a character, or B, have a character be very ambiguous with what they're supposed to be doing towards the plot. Now, obviously, they knew if Pikachu had no memories of what's going on, nor does Harry, and they fused that into one character, they could be able to retrace their steps and they'll have a movie, hence Detective Pikachu. Whereas in, when they make Pikachu lose his memories, there's just a lot of moments where it's like, well, the only reason we're here now is because Pikachu has no idea what's going on because he has amnesia. Like, for example, we don't know anything about his interaction during the underground battle stuff when he fought Charizard the first time because he had amnesia back then. Apparently, when Pikachu explains, he's like, I dealt with this guy before, but he doesn't even know what happened. And he can't use any of his attacks to be useful because he forgot them. So, yeah, that's like the one thing I really would like
Well, then again, though, you have to remember that amnesia could affect the short-term memory, not the
long-term memory.
The
Exactly.
only reason why he knew he fought him before was because the guy who was challenging him with the Charizard said
He brought it up.
Said he wanted a rematch.
we
Yeah,
want a rematch, and
and
then they won
but-
last time.
But the problem. Here's one of the problems with amnesia as well. You remember when Pikachu found Greninja's water shurikens on the highway?
I don't think that
and
should have been a
then,
thing, by the way.
Yeah, went off to investigate. When he went off to investigate, his memories start coming back bits and pieces. That's the problem with amnesia characters. When you have a character with amnesia, all that takes to move anything forward is, I suddenly remember this now.
It seems like a plot convenient thing.
Yeah,
It's
just
like I need the plot to move forward. Oh, look, a vision. I see
Yes,
it. Like
yes.
it seems.
Or like somebody's got to hit you in the head
I
with
was waiting
something or
for the
so
show
it
reference.
seems super convenient. That's
Well,
what
then
it
again, though, amnesia wears off, so...
was. I mean,
Yeah, but it was just so convenient how and where.
I guess because it's
But
a
it's like
plot device.
Pikachu could have had visions anytime he wanted in that movie.
The problem is that because it's overused as a plot device, you never look forward to seeing it in another film. That's the problem.
Yes.
It's not really the movie's fault. It's just the fact that it's used so much as a
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to pull at. It's like, I'm not blaming the movie terribly. It needed a plot, and obviously this plot's loosely based off the game, but it's the amnesia on the main character to me sometimes is just an excuse to. Now, granted, I'm glad they didn't take the Shadow the Hedgehog approach with memory loss, where it's like, I'm completely unguided unless you like. Pikachu still has a personality and everything, minus the memory.
Right. I guess the criticism I probably would have is did the Pikachu getting hurt sequence seem kind of random to you, like the way it happened?
The little pebble.
Yeah,
the pebble hitting his stomach.
Well, it's because you see it falling and it looks huge, and then like when you see the scene where he gets hit, it's like and I'm like, what happened? And then they never show and then they never show the wound either, so it looks weirder than it's supposed to, I think.
I feel like the
Somebody
Apom
wants
scene was
slide
more
mini
violent
edition.
than that too.
Yeah,
and he's fine with that.
And Apom got a raw deal in this movie in terms of like the trailers.
It looks so disturbing, yo.
Yeah, during the that was Apom's debut, was the trailer, and his eyes, man, that was because of the Argas. We didn't know about, we didn't know about that at first. So Apom's debut is just creepy. He got a raw introduction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to talk about something that I also have a bit of a nitpick to, and it's a scene when they're in the
Mewtwo
lab.
teeth. Sorry.
No, no, it's
Thanks.
they're nowhere near as bad as Sonic's teeth. We'll say.
No.
That
But
Sonic's
I
teeth
want-
are fake.
Yeah, Mewtwo's are real apparently. So
All right, guys,
what I was gonna
relax.
say is that the scene when they're in the laboratory and you see them encounter this broken lab, because this is the location where Mewtwo escaped from. How the hell did Pikachu know how to control that monitor to where it was able to rewind things and make things pause and check things in like this holographic design? Like, how the hell did that machine still work to where it was capable of even showing that off?
That's your problem. That's not even my problem with that sequence. My problem with that sequence is we never figure out why Harry gave Mewtwo to them in the first place.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, there were so many weird things about that scene. I was just naming a few that I just personally wanted to bring up. But then the next one I wanted to talk about was Harry. Like, okay, we understand there's something going on, yet they never really go anywhere with it because
We don't get the
they
full
just
story.
cut it off. Exactly. So it's very
Howard explains all Harry had to do is take the money and help us, find Mewtwo. I'm like, but why?
Yeah, like I don't understand if Harry obviously had some sort of change of heart, but we don't know the basis of the conversation to begin with.
Or what changed it?
Like that's the flashback I would have been more interested in seeing. Like he obviously had he changed his mind at some point and freed Mewtwo, which I guess gave Mewtwo, and the Pikachu obviously made it really obvious that Pikachu cared about Harry. So it was like, okay, well I'll fuse your bodies together for a little while. But like we don't know, we never see Harry go through that transition, so it kind of comes off a little weird and random.
And it's because the movie can't afford to really show off much of Harry for two reasons. One, because the mystery of this entire movie is to find Harry, so I guess they couldn't really like show a lot of him off. And two, it's Ryan Reynolds, and they really didn't want to like
Ryan Reynolds.
They didn't really want to show Ryan Reynolds.
I love that. I will say this right now. I absolutely love that whole thing. The
Okay,
entire
so
theater in
you're on the reverse spectrum of my girlfriend. She hated it.
Like, the thing that made it so funny for me is just like, of course you would do something like that. And then the theater audience that we were in also had a chuckle as well when they found out that Ryan Reynolds was the man that they were looking for. And I'm like, of course they would do something as ridiculous as this. Why wouldn't they? But I will say that it does disappoint me a little bit now because with that ending, they're separated. So Pikachu went back to doing Pika-P like his usual
like
self.
a regular Pikachu. Yeah,
I'm perfectly fine with that personally.
I'm fine because at least they actually gave a closure, unlike the freaking video games.
So how do you
I heard
Detective
the video
Pikachu
game
2?
ends on a cliffhanger, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like the idea that and now it could probably pass that Pikachu down to Tim, and Tim will have that Pikachu as his partner. Because let's think about it, what other Pokemon would Tim be partnered up with?
Nothing.
I could think of one.
I do appreciate which brings in another thing.
Exactly.
Oh God.
Ludicolo. That shit was pretty
guys,
freaky, but I love it.
relax. No, I was gonna mention the other thing.
They could have used any Pokemon for that part. I love Ludicolo though.
Jesus. The thing I was gonna mention though that I really enjoyed was the fact that I forget if it's early in the film. I think Pikachu says it relatively early in the film. The whole Pokemon can't understand you, but they can understand your feelings and everything.
Feelings, yeah.
That seemed really click with me, and I think that works for when
it did.
Pikachu's hurt and everything.
I think I like because they say it so much in the anime too, like in all the seasons. So I thought that was really touching.
And it wasn't jammed in your face. They could have easily repeated that over and over and over. But nah, I think they only say it a grand total. They only say it a grand total of about 2 times, and it makes sense. It's just like animals. Like animals, I don't think actually understand when we talk to them. They'll understand bits and pieces, but generally, it's the tone of our voice. It's the mannerisms that we have when we say something. They know because they're sensing you, and that's the same logic Pokemon follow, and I like that. It makes the Pokemon seem not so. It makes them seem more down to earth and not
Right.
they're fictional characters, but they still have a shade of realism to them.
Viewing them more like animals.
Yeah, right. Which they should be viewed in this world anyway as. So
I guess one other small critique that got on my nerves almost immediately when it happened. Lucy's introduction scene. She was so hammy in that whole beginning sequence with Psyduck, and it broke the tone that the movie was going for the majority of that.
I feel like she came on a little too strong at the beginning too.
Yeah, it's too thick. Laid it on way.
Had Detective Pikachu shown up first, I think Lucy's scene would have been
it would have been a lot.
They try to make
Also,
it seem like this edgy, like, you know, badass, like, you know.
Yeah.
But I like that. I kind of like that she. Well, first of all, I really love that because for those who don't know, I've been working in the news for like 2 years now. Won't just unlike TSS's little nod to a certain station, I won't disclose where I work. But anyway, I appreciate that.
Pikachu.
But I like. I just really like that storyline. So I thought it was a little weird how it was kind of like she was this like shady, mysterious, you know, like she came on, you're right, she's come along strong. But then it's like she's, you know, quirky and like very helpful.
I actually enjoyed the quirkiness because, well,
she mellows out.
Oh,
and
me too.
Yeah.
I think
she gets better as the movie goes on.
I like that kind of thing because it's like, you know, kind of, you know, it's like getting slammed against at the side of the wall in a freaking washing machine. It's like you get all melatonin, and all of a sudden the spin cycle comes.
I would have liked the idea of if her character, if we were just talking about her introduction, I would have liked the idea that she's like acting super head on strong, but she doesn't really know what she's doing. Like she just sort of is like fumbling around with it because she's an intern. She's an unpaid intern, I think, for this. So I like she probably thinks she's like this big important piece of the news when in actuality she writes like the paper. Like she does stories for the paper or something.
You know why?
Just
I don't think they gave her enough time to really develop.
They did.
Because she's very in and out of the movie a lot.
Yeah, and one thing I do appreciate, though, if we're talking about Lucy, her relationship with Tim, they don't force it. Like, it's awkward, but it's because they're teenagers, but they don't force it at all.
I don't know. I feel like I agree to an extent, but I still don't know if I would have had them, like, be, like, super into each other dating towards the end. I feel like the movie didn't earn
Well, they did.
No, yeah, they're dating by the end of it.
No, they're just sort of
gonna go on a date.
They're gonna go on a date.
Yeah, it's an indication that they are. Yeah.
They didn't have them kiss. Thank God. I like that.
You didn't want the cheeks sparking from the romance.
No,
literally any other movie would have done the kiss scene right then.
Yes, exactly, Richie. Any other movie would have done it the minute that all the Pokemon got set free and everything was good. They would have been like, "Yeah, we did it." And they hug, and then they like look at each other very awkwardly, and then they just go for the kiss, and then Tim says some dumbass thing, and
Pikachu
that's what
in the background says some dumbass thing.
And then it turns into a Hallmark movie.
And then they act awkward about the kiss, and he's blushing.
Do we get fireworks though? I want the fireworks.
Yeah, so sorry. I like that it's awkward. They're teenagers. This has to be as awkward as humanly possible.
No, because Tim is like 21.
Yeah, Tim is an adult.
But they're playing teenagers. They're being teenagers in this movie.
I think he's in the movie. In the movie,
21.
Well, he sells insurance.
Yeah, what teenager do you know that sells insurance?
Those teenagers can still have jobs.
They're not that.
I don't believe that. I think they were.
Well, okay, so they're young adults, but they're in like the teen line. They're still like young.
You just don't want to let go of this teen shit. That's what this is.
Well, I'm just saying they're young. They're very young. They're not adults. Even Pikachu says, "Geez, kid, you don't know how to talk to a woman."
No, have you never navigated a woman before?
Exactly. Yeah, and he's still calling him kid. What the fuck is that?
I mean, it kind of makes sense, at least to me.
Is there anything else we need to go over?
Let's talk about the non-existent music.
Then
Oh, elevator.
Wait, if it's not existent, what are we talking about?
Okay, well, moving along. The other thing I also wanted to talk about regarding this film that I really loved were the references. Holy shit, the references, Cynthia, if that's supposed to be a thing. Does
The art
anybody?
thing, Gen 2.
They do reference Cynthia, yeah.
Now, I
Yeah,
really
now-
want to know if in the Japanese version, her Japanese name mentioned during that scene.
Yeah, we got to
It's gonna
see.
be it's gonna be
well,
Shinron.
here's the thing. If it's still going to be in the theaters in 3 months from now, then I'll be able to see it. Because I would definitely watch it again because they have Mika Kanai, and the other so we actually have Kodak's voice and we have Pudding's voice. So those, and we're also going to have like some people from the anime like Yamadera, and also Yuki Kaiji, which was Citron. So they're actually in the movie. So real Pokemon voice actors are in the movie. Surprise, right? So
Yeah.
it'd be pretty cool. It'd be pretty cool to watch it. I'm probably gonna get the Japanese edition anyway, because it'll have both audio anyway. So
Yeah.
should be pretty cool.
So then I guess we need to.
But yeah, that was really it. All I had regarding reference. There was
I like the design of the Pokeballs they had, by the way. Like, I want to buy that.
You only see
Yes.
them like twice.
Yeah, but I still like it.
Yeah.
Like, I want, and I like the rule. Yeah, I like the rules that are followed by the Pokeball too, because I thought it was just gonna wiggle 3 times and click. He's like, it's not turning green. Why isn't it turning green?
Run.
Polly, are you in a tunnel or a bathroom?
Polly, come up to the mic.
I'm in the kitchen. Okay.
Well, come to the
What?
I'm eating soup.
get
Oh,
out of the
Lord.
kitchen.
Oh no, she's at soup.
Oh God,
It's over. It's done.
guys.
Why are you buying clothes and soup?
Guys,
Why
Why are
no,
you in a soap store?
guys,
Fuck you.
guys.
Golly.
Jesus Christ.
I'm at soup.
This is,
What was I saying?
we're very unprofessional here.
Well, I had a few things to say.
Traditional
We were talking about the Pokeball designs, Polly.
Pokeball design. Yeah.
Oh no! Well, I mean, I was delving away from that because I tend to go off topic all the time. But no, I was saying the catching sequence. Hey, I just felt like really nice. Like I thought it was very like there wasn't. It was just a simple meadow, and obviously 2 characters trying to catch Pokemon. Like just a very simple scene where it's like you kind of feel like you're just very genuine in the way.
Mm.
I don't know if any of that makes sense.
No, it does.
No,
Sure it
no.
does.
We
It
got.
wasn't this big grand. They're so suave and smooth and catching, Like the other guy was so new to it. I just thought it was like a great way to.
Mm. Although I did appreciate the fact that you could tell some of the London scenes, and you see like cars trying to drive on the right side of the road when they're supposed to drive on the left.
Hey,
Yeah.
how you know that's not a Japanese thing? I'm just playing. I'm playing.
Speaking about Japanese, those texts and the credits scene.
Dude, I was about to bring that up.
Those were
Damn it, you
lit.
beat
Yeah,
me to it.
that was nice. I like that.
Actually, the
I
music
even
was
like
more
that
lit.
I even like that Pikachu and Charizard were in their original video game sprites.
Yeah.
He fucking beat me
Even
to it.
Pikachu had the hat on too. That's the great part about it.
And I love the art. Yeah, I love the art when the characters are drawn in like Pokemon. Yeah.
Like
I
a
love
manga
that.
art style. Love that. Yeah.
Yes, that was beautiful.
Yeah, it's like, well, wow, look at that. A Pokemon movie that's actually referencing that is Japanese.
No,
Amazing.
not where it came from.
Yeah,
I mean,
Pokemon USA, you piece of shit.
They even use like when the credits are finally over for that, they even use the sprite, the Pokeball sprite as
To close
it's
it
like
up.
to
Yeah.
close it up. That's I applauded that shit. I was like, there's so much
Masterpiece.
love. There's so much love in this goddamn movie.
And I think that's the best way to summarize this film, made by fans for fans. And the reason why I say
by
that,
the mania for the mania.
no, we're not that crazy.
No.
But I want to say this. It is so heartwarming to hear the stories of the people that are coming out and saying that they are the ones responsible for working on this film and making it be what it is. And you hear how much they love the series to go so far to get all these references and even get one of the artists from the VNR who did this just for fun, just making realistic Pokemon designs in his art style to suddenly then use that as a reference to create this cinematic universe with these creatures here in Detective Pikachu. It just shows that this film was given a lot of love, a lot of care, a lot of time, definitely a lot of time, because we've heard about this movie being in production since when, how long now? And here we are in 2019 and they
3 years.
finally released.
Like 3
Exactly.
years.
So they
Yeah,
just
I
made sure
remember.
they didn't rush it. They took their time to make this film be what it is. And I definitely can say this, it shows. A lot of it shows, because the thing that we're talking about right now doesn't have anything to do with the plot. It has everything to do outside of the plot. Just seeing these creatures feel so natural in this world, feel so unique in this art style, and have it work and blend well with these humans, it's incredible. And I absolutely love it so much because of that. So massive applause to all the people who worked on this film for doing an amazing job at appreciating the IP and giving it the respect that it rightfully deserves, because they could have screwed this up really badly. We've seen these kind of things happen in the past, but this was one of those rare
Especially with
instances.
video game movies, because
Well,
video game movies.
We'll also
usually
see it.
fail.
We'll also see it in the future, folks.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
and other IPs that are not video game movies, like for example, the Smurfs, or like Garfield or whatever, those kind of films from the past where you get these weird ass creatures that just
Yeah,
somehow end up here.
and the writing is kind of shit too in those movies. To be fair, too.
Yeah,
It's
like
a lot.
Resident
It's a lot
Evil.
of kid humor.
Yeah, but
I mean,
this
it's
does have
yeah.
its kid humor, but I think the reason why it works so well is just because they make it work in the world that it's in. They don't force it in. They make it naturally go with the
Well,
story.
I
Well,
think-
you know,
I think-
no,
I
I
think
think
it
what
has to do
helps
with
it
the
is that it
writing.
has a range of comedy. It goes from kid jokes to adult jokes real quick. So whenever
It caters to everyone.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
maintains.
it's got a broad audience.
Yeah, it maintains
I mean that's
entertainment value.
let's back it up a little bit. Isn't that a point of a Pokemon movie being for everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
So
Everyone
Hey.
has their fucking moment in the.
well,
sun
you have to
right now.
remember that
Well,
that TPC freaking put their hands on it, and then they made sure they oversaw this to make sure that Hollywood didn't fuck up and did not.
Well, that's just
See,
kind
one
of
of
the
the-
thing of like, oh, Lord.
No, go ahead.
But
Go ahead, Polly.
all of it wasn't directly like remakes directly, because I know us, I know our group, and I know like, and I think we would have like us as hardcore fans of the games and especially the anime would have been real pissed off if they tried recreating, say, Ash and made it kind of this generic, I don't know, the boy goes on a trainer
Like-
and he rocket and
Yeah, we don't want to see some dude in his like mid-20s with a wig on and a bright red hat with facial hair saying he's Ash Ketchum. Like that'd be creepy.
You know
It's
what? Now that you
unnecessary.
bring that up, that's actually a really good point, because this wasn't a film about a kid going on an adventure. It was more of a kid ending up getting stuck in a situation because of certain events that played out. Like, he didn't want any of this. He wanted to just live a
So-
regular human life, not being surrounded
Yeah.
by Pokemon.
He don't
And
want to
then-
be a Pokemon master.
I just wanted to I wanted to touch on that a lot because I did want to talk a lot about I did want to talk a lot about Tim, the main character himself. And I said this in the Pokepod before, but I'll try to differentiate the way I said it. So, out of all of the people who obviously say on like Twitter or articles or pictures, hey, what would you do if you live in a Pokemon world? Would you live in a Pokemon world? What Pokemon would you have if you live in a Pokemon world? Pokemon Go, all of that. Being in a Pokemon world has always been like a dream for basically anyone who has ever associated themselves with Pokemon. They'd be like, oh, I'd have these Pokemon, I'd travel the world, I'd do all of this. I think it's the best justice in the world, no pun intended, that Tim,
Yeah, it is.
out of all people, is a kid that wants nothing to do with Pokemon. And it like, remember
Pokemon.
when Terrell, remember when we said that May was a great character because she had a great come up story from someone who only wanted to do the journey to travel, and she didn't even like Pokemon, but at the end she's like a coordinator and everything.
Yes, I remember saying that.
Yeah, in the
Yeah,
video we just saw.
like remember how we appreciated her for that?
Yeah, of course.
So this is like a really great come up story for Tim, especially considering the fact that as a kid he actually did want to be a Pokemon trainer. His dreams died unfortunately, along with his mother. When his mother died,
What's up with
when
you
his
and these really weird correlations, like set up in a way that makes things go,
Yeah,
oh
hidden
man, that's
explanations.
dark.
Yeah, well, when his mother died and when his father left, he distanced himself from Pokemon. He figured, oh, my father left me for the world of Pokemon, and my mother left me right as I was going to become a Pokemon trainer. He didn't get the chance to do that thing that every kid grows up and wants to be, a Pokemon trainer. So he distanced himself from the world of Pokemon as much as he can, when in actuality, the distance made him closer to the world of Pokemon than he wanted to be. So it was a natural progression of character growth, and obviously character growth is very important in any movie. So I think Tim was probably the best situation that Pokemon's ever had to make a movie about, because yeah, let's put a situation of a kid who wants nothing to do with Pokemon and introduce him to the world of Pokemon. I mean, hell, his job is selling an insurance. That's the farthest from Pokemon I think you'll ever get.
Oh,
No,
man,
the
but-
furthest you'll get is being dead. That'll be the furthest.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
I guess.
no, I mean, like, out of all the realistic jobs, because, like, if you stop to think about
Well,
it, like,
imagine having to sell car insurance. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
this golem fucked up my car. I need.
yeah, exactly. Like, imagine living in the world of Pokemon, and the farthest job you could possibly get from it is to pick a boring job that has nothing to do with.
Suddenly, I don't want to go to the Pokemon world because I don't want to end up doing something so basic like that. You know, what if we get the bad luck and suddenly we're just doing kind of insurance things? Like
Well, to
State
be fair,
Farms?
we're all over the age of 10, so it's not like we can just go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we're all going on jobs.
Like,
then, I
like
guess.
remember
Fuck it
that?
then.
Remember in the video game Pokken when the guys are like stuck in traffic because the Pokemon are fighting in the middle of the street?
That's us.
Yeah, that shit.
Yeah.
So
I-
that's
I
why
do
you
wanna-
relate. That's why you relate today.
Right, because fucking Blaziken and Chandelure decided to fight in the middle of
Fucking
the street.
kicking cars and shit. I'm trying to get home
Right.
and record a video.
Right.
I want to add a little bit to the whole thing you discussed regarding Tim and being away from Pokemon. I love that development he got with Bulbasaur when he was trying to figure out how he can communicate with the Pokemon and
Yes.
slowly learn about how they might not be able to. They sense something in the trainers. They sense something in the people. Like they might not be able to speak because their language is pretty much impossible, but they can sense your emotions. And I love
Yes.
the development that Tim got from there because you see him desperately trying to ask the Bulbasaur to help him out. Even gets at one point crying as well. So you talking about this and then that development he got in halfway into the film, I think it really showed that growth of his character.
He's so different from the kid who struggled to try to like to reason with a Cubone to catch it just to please his friend.
Exactly. Now he's trying to actually get
Yeah.
help from these creatures because it's
Yeah,
his
he's
own
speaking to the
option.
Pokemon from the heart now. Yeah.
And I love that. I think that's a perfect like representation of how he grew in the film. And you know, that's something
Yeah.
really hard to do with a film because you're at a limited time. Normally these kind of characters, they take a while to actually see them grow into what you, the viewer, want them to be. And I think this film did
Yeah.
a great setup for Tim's development and making him really feel a little bit more connected and grow a bond with Pokemon.
I gotta say, this is the second movie. This is the movie I watched after Avengers Endgame. So coming from Avengers Endgame, which was 3 hours, to this, a lot
It
of
was
stuff
pretty
into
short.
an hour. Right, they jammed a lot of stuff into an hour and 20 minutes though. Like they were able to. It was short, like Richie just said, but it didn't feel like it was too short. If
Because
that
you were
makes
so
sense.
invested into it. You,
Right,
you,
because
you
I was
didn't
so-
let
I was
time
in
play
the-
a role.
I would have been cool
I
with
was
it
so
being
included
longer.
in the role.
Yeah, I would have
I
preferred it to be
would've too.
3 hours.
Okay, not that long, but I feel like it would have been like 2 hours. I'm sorry, like this movie in particular, I feel like it earns about 2 hours. I wouldn't give it 3 hours right off the bat. This is their first live action. Let's give
I
them
think
some.
they did it right with keeping it short just so that they can get a understanding
foot in the
of
water,
how, just to get an understanding of what people like, what
Just
people
get your
dislike, and
foot
utilize
wet,
that.
so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So,
it was perfect for other people who like aren't necessarily like parents taking their kids or
Yeah.
people taking their loved ones. I mean, me personally, I came into this series like when I was 13, like 2009 era P, mid GP, and like that was at a time where it was kind of like not, where it was like, oh, you still play or watch Pokemon, like that's for kids. Or it's just like it wasn't popular anymore. Like among the
Yeah.
cult following, yes, but like now I feel like both the Pokemon Go and with this movie, especially with this movie, it's brought this resurgence for fans who no were like maybe kind of dropped off after OS or after playing the older games can now come back to it, or even people who just never kind of barely like pop culture's standpoint can now even just have a conversation about it with someone. So I think that's great. And I think it's a perfect movie to do so.
yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And just to go in regarding the whole 1 hour and however long this film was, you know what would be a good film now if they were to make something for 2 hours and make it live action? Adventures,
Yes.
the manga.
Yeah.
If they're
Yeah.
not going to do
Yeah.
an anime form, do
Pokespa should be.
put the special as a live
But how
action
much?
film,
How
because
much of the story would you cover?
if it's going to
Probably
go
Gen,
roughly two
probably just
hours,
Gen 1. So just Gen
so
1.
Red Blue.
No,
or
no. I
just
mean,
Red-
of Gen 1. Would you cover the whole story in one film?
I think they're going to do some.
No, you would
No,
cover
no.
volume. If we were okay, I'm looking at my volumes right now. If we were to start to cover everything, we would cover volumes 1 through 3, which is basically all the way up to the giant Zapdos fused with Moltres and Articuno stuff, and them taking down Team Rocket and the whole Pokemon tournament that Red has with Blue or Green. If you're
That was
from
3 volumes.
yeah, that was in 3 volumes. Yellow's volumes 4 through 7.
Sorry, I got this.
Oh yeah, if this happens, Polly's gonna be having a field day with
Oh,
this.
yeah, she's gonna be running around, squeeing everywhere.
Wait,
Yeah, so
Unless they take him out.
wait a second, that's a different Pokemon. That is wearing pink on.
Oh God.
yeah, but Yellow is volumes 4 through 7. So if they were to cover a movie, it would be volumes 1 through 3. Which
know,
that's a healthy amount. That's
I'm
3
not-
volumes.
I'll say this: I'm not against that idea, but realistically, I'd rather them not try to adapt other Pokemon media. I'd rather them try to do original things. Like honestly, I would like stories based around different professions, like a contest coordinator or a gym leader or a ranger. Like I'd rather them take on different aspects of the universe without trying to just flood out. And I feel like the Pokemon journey, the 8 badges in the league, that should be like a Avengers kind of film, where all those
Really?
things, like it culminates, where
I agree.
like Tim would be a person you would meet along your like our new character's journey of becoming a Pokemon master. The gym leader they did a film about maybe like a few years ago would be like one of the gyms you have to beat. Like
yeah.
it
That
would,
would be cool.
and then like maybe you meet a Pokemon Ranger along the way. Like it's that kind of. I want that kind of cohesion. Pokemon's a series that works because you can literally do anything with it. So I don't want them to just do an adaptation because then I gotta hold it to an unrealistic standard. The reason why Detective Pikachu works is because one is based off a spin-off game that not a lot of people played, and two,
Like
it's
4
its
people
own,
play.
and it's like
Yeah,
an original.
4.
It keeps itself. It's allowed to be an original story. The moment you start adapting manga and anime representation is the moment you kind of put it in a box, and it doesn't need to.
Then you're gonna get those people that do the side-by-side
nitpick.
comparisons
Yeah,
of the games.
it's one of those things that it should be allowed to breathe in its own nature.
The reason that Marvel did this so well with the comic books is because even I can tell you I read a lot of Marvel comic books, and the movies
Are they marvelous?
loosely. Shut up.
Marvelous
The movies.
entertainment.
The movies loosely base themselves off of the comics. They're not frame for frame. They're not direct adaptations. They just do the adaptation well enough for us to be invested in the cinematic universe that the Russo brothers have created. So that's why they work so well here. And I think Terrell's absolutely right. If we start having Ash or we start having Red involved, then we got to set them up by Ash and Red standards, which are unrealistic standards when you stop to think about it.
But we still need the reason why I say this is just because it's a Pokemon series. We're gonna need a film that kind of does this sort of thing. I really would love to see it be handled in live action.
There will be a film, but I think that should be like their version of Avengers. Like it shouldn't be.
I actually think it would be cool. I think it would be Red or Ash being at the forefront, but I don't think it would be impossible
Red seems to
include one of the gym leaders, or Lance, or Cynthia. Like,
yeah, I mean, you're gonna obviously you can reference some of the game characters,
right?
But I think Tyrone was going in the right direction. Let them be like loosely based on those characters.
Yeah, like if you were to put Red in a cinematic live action universe, we would have to create another Red. So this would be, we already have like 4 Reds at this point. We have Ash, which is Red in the anime. We have Red from the video games, Red from the manga, Red from Super Smash Brothers, Red from the
main
manga.
games.
Yeah, Red from the other manga. The
Origins
one with where, Origins Red. Oh God. So yeah, that's that's a lot of Reds.
Well,
but they're all. See, here's the difference though. They're all 2D.
Red Dead Redemption.
Reds. This is the first 3D Red.
Yeah, I'm gonna say if we have a cinematic universe Red, first of all, he'd have to have a real name, and they just call him Red as a nickname. Because come on now, Red's a stupid name. But
pretty much.
Well, so is a guy named Princess, but nobody says him.
I think that's why I said I think the next film should be more based on like a side job in the universe. Like I honestly think the next one should be based around gym leaders than anything else, and that whole system. Because then, because it's a way of developing the world without just flat. Because obviously, what everyone wants is the journey. They want the 8 badges in league. That's what they want, and that's fine to want that. But you make your world more interesting. It makes that final trudge through those 8 gym leaders and league a lot more memorable. Like go through the process of how do you become a gym leader. I would be totally down for that, just because that's an interesting process in general, and it still involves battling and things that Pokemon fans would care about.
But would that be something that would cater to a worldwide audience, though? That's the thing.
Well, I think it still will have the same.
Well,
it depends on how it depends on how they portray it. Like for example,
well, even the MCU has its own like. You have to have been watching 22 years worth of films in order to really be invested. Do you like superhero movies? So yeah, even Marvel has its own.
Also, Pokemon in that, at least for the example I gave, that's never really been fully explained in the games or anime anyway. It's been like mentioned, and I think it's been the most explored in the manga. But like for the most part, there aren't any rules for it, so you can literally make up whatever you want. Which makes the movie idea for it really cool, because you have free reign and everyone's pretty much in the same darkness that everyone else is in.
Like that kid AJ.
Yeah.
From like episode 8.
Exactly.
You know what I want to see instead? Since we're talking about Red, and we're talking about this whole Avenger-esque thing, I still want a Red movie, but now I want that to be sort of a setup for what everybody's been really talking about regarding Smash Brothers and the whole.
I mean, hell, the directors themselves even told you this is how we would do
how
it.
they wanted to create it, where they had to create like live action Legend of Zelda and all that to make that all function properly.
Yeah, you have to do.
Red works best because he's basically one of the characters in Super Smash Brothers.
I don't know.
So wouldn't it make sense to kind of do?
I see what you're doing there. I don't think it depends on how. It depends on if they make a new Red, or if they do or if they take one that already exists and just readapt him.
No.
I was just about to say, if they were to introduce Red, if they introduce Red though, like if my thing is if they introduce Red, even if he's a whole new Red, I think they would have to have him enter the movie kind of already equipped with Pokemon and everything, and then the movie itself would become developing him as a character. Maybe he's used to winning so much that he gets hit with the reality of what happens if he actually meets a challenge or something, or something happens with him and his Pokemon where they get separated or they lose trust. Or the journey is him just becoming a better person rather than a better battler.
I'm not against the idea of having Red have his own movie. I just don't think it should be like soon. I feel like that should be like later. I feel like I personally, I'm more of a fan of developing the world of Pokemon.
You know what's hilarious?
Yeah, because this movie did a good job of.
With the whole Avengers thing, if they did it, in the case that Red or Ash didn't get their own, if they did like a Stan Lee type of thing where they like had like Ash randomly passing through, and they don't even say his name, but obviously he looks like him. He's wearing a hat and everything.
So Ash is Stan Lee.
And he's like, like when I was your age, like not that he's older, maybe maybe a teenager or like young adult. Or when I was first starting out, blah blah blah, and he gives advice, and then he just goes, or he makes a comment, and then just goes on his merry way. Like,
and then Pikachu does that like Pika-P that's supposed to reference like Satoshi.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's when you learn that Satoshi.
I remember the video game, the actual Detective Pikachu video game has this scene where Tim, the video game Tim, confuses Pikachu. He thought the Detective Pikachu that he's normally with, he confuses that for just a random Pikachu on the street. And when the Detective Pikachu meets up with that Pikachu, they start talking, and he's like, "Oh, well, I hope you and your friend continue your thing to become the very best." And that Pikachu waves and runs off. That's supposed to be a reference to Ash's Pikachu.
Yeah.
In Detective Pikachu. I like little stuff like that. I was actually kind of hoping that this movie would put that part in, but you know, you do what you got to do.
Well, I mean,
hell, we got Ryan Reynolds singing.
Yeah,
I want to be the very best.
Yeah, we do get the song, so.
Yeah. Which I hope translates into the first opening for Japan.
Yeah, Mrs. Pokemon Master.
Yeah, Mrs. Pokemon Master.
Oh man, but yeah, there's a lot of potential for what they can do for a sequel, whether it be, as I mentioned regarding Red, or whether it be something simple for, as what Terrell said, regarding learning more about the world itself and how these other side characters become gym leaders and build up the world. The reason why I want to add, like, I think this would be great if they can do like a thing where they make the movie Red, introduce certain elements within the world, and then from there have side stories that build upon the worlds that Red had visited. Because that way you'll already have introduced the characters. Now it's just learning more about those characters in their respective films moving forward, learning how they become who they are.
I can understand that, and you can go either way with it. I guess the reason why I like it the other way is because then I feel like the movie with Red means a lot more because there's a bunch of cameos from the other films you've seen. Like I would view the lead challenge as an Avengers film because it's going to feature a bunch of different characters. Whereas if you go the other way around it, it's really just going to be a film where the only character I really give a shit about is like Red. And I'm like, because I don't have any connection with these gym leaders yet, or these league members, or even the evil team, if they even go in that same direction. And it won't be until after I watch the other films where it's like, oh, now I care about how this gym leader lost, or now I care about how this league member fought. Like, that's the reason why I wanted to do it the other way. But it's all up to it's only gonna be all up to them, and they may not even go in either of these directions. It literally we're just in wait and see mode.
I think if we're reeling it back to Detective Pikachu itself, the reason why I feel like this worked so well for me was because Rhyme City, or just in general, or everything in itself, felt like a breath of fresh air to me. Every region in Pokemon, no matter video game, anime, whatever, always had its like atmosphere around it that you can kind of feel. Like, you know, when you're in Johto, you know, when, like, even in my head, there's colors I think of for some of them. Like, for some reason, for Johto, I think like an orange color. For Sinnoh, I think like this weird light blue or a pinkish color. I think of this because like it's the atmosphere that they present, the setting. And Rhyme City to me always has this interesting setting to me where there's Pokemon like everywhere and none of them are contained in Pokeballs. And they're walking with them. They're in the city, but the city felt like it was, I don't know. The city was based off of like a very heavy city-based city. We haven't seen this much city since Gen 5.
You said city so goddamn much in this last sentence.
I know. I was aware of that.
City.
I was aware of that while I was saying it because that's where the location was, and it's just I was getting a lot of different vibes from this area because it was a breath of fresh air. Putting older characters in movies or putting characters that we know of, even if they're introduced in a new way, in the back of a fan's head, you're still going to have that template of the character themselves. It's like no matter how many ways you rearrange them, if you put Red in a movie, I'm going to think Red because that's who Red is.
I just got a little like predictions as to what I would like now thinking about it a little bit because we've been talking specifically about how Red's gonna eventually get to the league at some point. What if the films don't have to end with a league? What if it's still Red adventuring, but the main plot of the film still has something to do with Giovanni that ends up setting things up for a League Adventure-esque kind of film? Like, here's what I think might happen if we're gonna just scrap the league. Like, if I want to do my adventures route thing, I would love for them to cover red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, crystal story as like this kind of cinematic universe slowly building up. So like, for example, when the red and blue film introduces the character Red, you see, like yellow appear there, which will set that up for the yellow saga storyline. And then you'll also see gym leader storylines add to this because Red's traveling around the Kanto region to fight these gym leaders. And then the reason why I want to say go all the way to Gold, Silver, and Crystal is because of what Terrell's been saying about world building. In the Adventures manga within Gold, Silver, and Crystal, before the actual league fight itself, don't they have a Kanto versus Johto gym kind of thing going on in the manga?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, all the
That's
Kanto
a great
gym
way
leaders
to
are
solidify their character development. Because
The only problem is it's going to take like 5 years to do everything.
But
I mean, hell,
listen, man,
Marvel took
Avengers did 22.
Marvel took 22 movies in like what, 11?
Exactly. Who says it has to happen all right away? A Pokemon is a franchise that's just going to keep on living. And if you keep producing films like this that will be able to explore more of regions that you, the consumer, have visited and are now entering into new territory that you've never experienced before because now you're seeing it from their point of view, it's going to just add a lot more of it's just going to be a lot more fun. It's going to be a lot more connected.
TPC has to do
sadly-
TPC has to do something to the series, otherwise.
Sadly, this
Guys, hold on a second.
what?
I knew this was gonna happen because we've now gone into the movie cinematic universe tangent. And not listen, I love that shit. It's great shit. I want to have that conversation, but I feel like we need to end the Detective Pikachu conversation before doing
All
that.
right. And I was just about to bring up Detective Pikachu, so it's so funny that
I know, but we need because I already know we're going down a hole, and it's gonna happen. But I'd rather that be like a separate video if we're gonna go down that hole. All right.
Right.
So I guess just to add one last thing, so I guess Detective Pikachu and Tim and Ryan Reynolds, the dad, basically they're the looker of this saga now, aren't they?
Oh God.
No.
Oh goodness.
I wouldn't mind. Yeah. All right. No, because I already want to have that conversation now. Now I don't want to. And if we do it, and for the sake of,
I mean, like, just if we're going back to relevancy, then that just goes to show you what Detective Pikachu is capable of. It opens a lot of doors for possibilities because it's one of the first successful video game movies. Like, there's not a lot of. I don't think there is.
There wasn't even like one really good.
There was, like
in this era. Yeah,
we got Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Mario Bros. All of those were bad.
I think the only we got some mediocre ones with the
the only one that people
Resident Evil and Tomb Raider
and Ratchet and Clank.
I didn't even see the Ratchet and Clank movie.
I didn't because I had no investment in the IP. That's the reason why I didn't care. But I guess to kind of wrap this up, and then there may be another video. We don't know. It depends.
Yeah.
about other things. I just really want to say, if you are a fan of Pokemon, this is honestly you probably already seen the film. I don't even feel like
Right.
I feel like
Right.
Don't think twice. Don't even think twice. Just go watch it.
It's
Yeah,
one
just
of,
go watch it.
It's one of those
And
films.
you don't even need to be a fan of Pokemon to watch this
Well,
one. It's just that good.
That's what I was gonna get into. It's literally one of those films that, like, if you aren't a fan, you'll at least think it's an average movie at worst. At worst, you'll think it's an average movie. If you are a fan, or if you do get invested, it becomes a fucking high B, high A tier film. It's not perfect, but damn it.
It's about as close to perfect, I think.
And
Yeah, I
also, it's
think
just
that-
fun to think about where
in,
they
in
go
the
from
Pokemon,
here.
in the Pokemon realm, I would say it's almost perfect.
Yeah, it's a solid 90 to me.
Yeah, that's
I
what
would
I'm
give it. I would give it something like a 9.8.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
give it a
give it
9.
like an
Yeah,
8.
I'll give it a 9.8 as well. I like that score.
I'm gonna hang around 90, 91, 92, 9.1,
Really?
Okay.
9.2.
So that would translate to just 9 point.
9.5.
We shouldn't have added
First-
fucking decimals, but we shouldn't have done. That's besides the point.
Nah, but like for me
9.5.
personally, if I was to rate it, I give it 7.5 out of 8 for this
It gets
one.
a solid A. Yes.
Yeah, like it's a good start to the film. The
And
reason why I
yeah.
leave it at the score is just because there are issues in a film that's just starting things off, and I noticed certain things in this film that were a little confusing. We even had like a full half an hour discussion about those certain issues that we had, but of course I'm just gonna let a little bit of that slide because this is their first film. This is how they're
Yeah.
gonna set things up. Now that they know how they handle things, it's gonna be interesting where they incorporate all of this
Yeah.
developed stuff in the future, because I mentioned this. I feel like the next Pokemon film is gonna be the new Shrek 2 of this era, where it's gonna be
Why
like
that?
considered
Of all movies
because
you could have referenced, why should
the
Yeah,
reason
Kate-
why is because Shrek 2 at the time was considered a perfect sequel. I'm saying I think we're finally gonna get a good live action, adaptation of a video game sequel that we've never had before. Because
Yeah, and
well, we never had a good film solo video game before to begin with, but to have a perfect follow-up to something that's already been created now and people enjoy is a mighty task. But if it does well, then this is gonna do.
I think I'm genuinely surprised how invested KG has been this whole time.
Because it's a fun film. It's really
usually
great.
I'm just saying. Usually I'm used to TSS kind of steamrolling, but man, KG, you were like, "Fuck that tonight."
This
No.
feels like another
I
Pokemon.
am the
I-
king of the castle, and do
Yeah,
not
Richie,
question
where have
me.
you been this whole time?
I was like Richie.
This is you know why? It's because I changed the format.
I said 9.5, but I get shouted over. So I mean,
Oh,
I agree 9.5.
I went. I said this in the Pokepod, but I remember saying. I'll say it again. I remember they said that filming on set, they had a expert on set every day when they were
Pokemon
making the movie.
Master.
A Pokemon man, right? And it definitely shows from the moment where Tim, we see that Tim wanted to be a Pokemon trainer. So on the underground battles, he says, "Yo, Pikachu, your moves are Quick Attack, Discharge, Electro Ball, and Volt Tackle. Volt Tackle's the strongest attack you got. I would use that." And Ryan Reynolds, he knows nothing of Pokemon for real, but he read his lines and did his homework. He goes, "Yo, Volt Tackle will knock me out." That sentence alone hooked me on the movie, just because it shows that no matter how deep of a fan you are, that this movie really wanted to show that hey, you watching the movie, we give a shit about what we're talking about,
Yeah.
and don't just write this off as, oh, we're just trying to bring something into live action because that's the trend right now.
Also, I just want to bring this up regarding a reference. Did you notice that we finally figured out Pikachu's nature? Because they do make fun of that, where Pikachu says, "I'm not modest," which is, of course, a nature within the main Pokemon games. And people realize something interesting. So since it's not a modest, that must mean that this Pikachu is a sassy nature.
Yes.
And if you notice this, because like there are perfect examples of it. If I'm correct, sassy nature, your speed is lowered, correct? Because like you don't gain much speed out of this one. And Pikachu does make moments where he's like, "Listen, I don't want to do all this walking. I just let me be on top of your shoulder." And then, of course, you also learn that sassy Pikachu prefers bitter things, bitter food, bitter treats.
Coffee.
And when Pikachu refers to, coffee, asks for it as,
Black.
dark as possible, black, and that's bitter. So it's those references right there that really just tells me how far they go into details for Pokemon, and it's stuff that it'll just slide off people's head if they don't catch it the first time around. This is a film that is meant to be watched many times.
Yeah, it just adds to the allure.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I appreciate about this film.
Right.
And with that, I think that's a good way of ending it. Go watch the film. I don't even think that's a question at this point. Even if you're not a fan, watch it and see why everyone who is a fan is still a fan, because it's good.
Support it.
It's so
Support
good.
video game movies. Support good video game movies, because this is the first. I think this is the first good official video game movie we got.
In this era, yes.
Yeah.
Right. This is a Renaissance era moment for me, as far as I'm concerned.
For video games and for Pokemon, especially given
Right,
how
for video
Pokemon
games
has
and for
been going.
Pokemon.
And you're
Like
talking.
Pokemon Go.
And you're
The thing is though, this is like the best video game movie that was made in like the last 30 years.
Best video game movie
Yes.
and just the
Yes.
and just the and you have to take that recommendation from us. Is that we're a team of experts, don't you know?
Right.
We know everything. Well, I think all of us together, I would say we know everything.
So does that mean Tim's gonna die 11 years from now?
Okay, all right.
No.
No, we're not doing this. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for support. If you're still watching,
9.5 out of 10.
write 9.5 out of 10. In the comments.
in the comments.
In the comment section, right now, 9.5 out of 10. Thank you guys. Thank you. I want to thank KG, TSS, Richie, Tyrone, Polly for all sitting up here and geeking out with us for like almost 2 hours. It's actually been longer than that. But you guys don't know about that because that's pre-show stuff. Hopefully I can edit this in a reasonable amount of time. Probably not, because I'm gonna pass out probably eventually. Anywho, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for the support. Subscribe, because there are more reviews to do. Hopefully the next thing you should see Pokemon related from me should be TSS and Richie's reviews for Genesect. Kind of depends on timing and if someone passes some tests that he's gonna pass anyway, so we're good.
As long as they don't hit the curb, you'll see me next week.
Yeah,
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
I like how you phrased it. You made it sound like, well, I might be dead tomorrow. It's too dark, folks.
TSS, you'll be fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But anyways, life's a game, play to win, and I will catch you guys later. Peace all.
Don't pay $15 for popcorn and soda.
Yeah, bro. Sneak food.
Yeah, fuck.
Sneak it.
Why is this the ending? Why is that the sign up? By the way,
Because movie
spend money
snacks are
in
absurd.
the only money you spend in the theater, it's on the tickets. Nothing else matters.
Yeah, yes. Support the movie, but don't support those absurd movie food tickets.
All right.
You guys are missing out.